Well, hello, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Stephen. So, this week's blog is entitled I'm Not a Lawyer, but I Did Stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. And a little bit of a riff on the Holiday Inn marketing campaign from a couple of years ago. And this blog was really the muse on this was another client of mine here at Artemis who happens to also be an attorney. And we were talking about some training he had done with another training organization a little while ago. And they were doing a simulation. And the simulation was simulation based. And they were recreating an event. Well, it turns out they were actually recreating an event that I was the attorney representing the client on. The fact pattern was virtually identical. Now, I don't know whether this was designed or to be this way or it just, was somewhat accidental, but it followed along the exact same fact pattern. In any event, the student that was in the process of going through the simulation was suddenly confronted by an assailant who was running up his staircase, supposedly in the middle of the night, towards the student, and the student ended up shooting him with a sim round. And immediately the instructor stopped the simulation and said, "This is an automatic fail. You are not allowed to use deadly force because you have no independent proof that this assailant used some level of force to gain entry into your dwelling." Well, the other attorney listened to this and said, "I'm fairly certain that that is an incorrect statement of the law." And the two of them got into sort of a heated debate as to what the what the actual law was. Now, I will tell you, in case you're curious, the other attorney was absolutely correct. There is no requirement that you go through and do an exhaustive analysis to determine whether or not and at what level of force was applied to get into a home. It's utterly irrelevant to the equation. But this particular trainer, who admittedly was not an attorney, was teaching his students with a high degree of authority that this was in fact the law. I had a conversation with another trainer a little while ago, and this individual was going through and telling me his interpretation on some legislative analysis, which he was incorrect on, but he's been promulgating this to his students. And then I go on YouTube and I see all sorts of things that are being, discussed by other YouTube personalities, going into great analytical detail on the underlying legal, basis of these different types, and they're all factually inaccurate or they're legally inaccurate. Professionalism at arms requires us to take a tremendous amount of information and try to process this information. But not all information is equal, okay? It requires a certain level of due diligence on the part of the consumer. And when someone tells you something, even me, when someone tells you something, it has to be, I don't know if challenged is the right word, but a certain level of veracity needs to be determined to see whether or not what they're saying is in fact accurate. Or if it's a generalized statement and there may be more nuanced aspects to it, rarely in our line of work is anything black and white. Quite the opposite, to tell you the truth. So anyways, I do hope you read the blog. And as always, train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe.